Thanks for tuning into the channel. So today we're going to be talking about some of the tips that I do when I'm going to go get a car and I'm trading my car in. A lot of us, if we're in the car market, usually we have a car that we're going to trade in to get our next car. And if you are in this situation, here are some tips that you can try out that's probably going to save you money. Now, you may be wondering, what are they? You can go online. There's a lot of online tools right now, like Kaylee Blue Book is one of them. And there's other websites like Kaylee Blue Book that can help you get a ballpark idea of what your car's worth. Okay. But if you're like me, I like to know exactly what I'm going to be getting for my car. I don't want to just get a ballpark because when I get a ballpark, there is a possibility of disappointment. I don't want to think that my car's worth $10,000 or that I'm going to get $10,000. But in reality, I come to find out I'm only going to get eight. That could break me from trading in my car or not. To avoid that from happening, I do go to CarMax. I'm not getting paid by CarMax or anything like that. I'm just sharing with you what I do. I go to CarMax. I go in person, and that way they have one of the people that work there. They come and look at the car, they touch it, they feel it, they see it. They go back inside, they give me the rear end guarantee that's good for 7 days. Of course, as long as you don't crash the car, destroy the car, right? Go over a bunch of miles, it's good for 7 days. I use that paper now to go car shopping because you want to know what your car is worth before you even go into the dealership. Now, if you don't want to do what I do, at least use the online tools to at least get a ballpark. Educate yourself what your car is worth. You don't want to just go to the car dealership and just believe everything they tell you. They're a business, and the car industry is a business that's there to make profit. Nothing wrong with that, but they're going to train their staff to make the dealership money, not to save you money. You, as the consumer, need to protect your pockets. And a lot of us just think of when you're making money is your 9 to 5 or your business or however you make money is what you think is the only way to make money. I look at saving money as making money as well. The more money I can keep in my pocket, hey, the better, right? So you got to look at it that way. If I can save myself money, I'm making money. And that's why I need to know what my car is worth. Also, no, car dealerships are going to try to get your car as low as possible because if they do that, guess what? They're going to make more profit when they sell it. And if they can't sell at their lot, then they might make a profit at the auction. But what a lot of people don't know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm gonna go on Kaylee Bull Book, or my car's worth this on Kaylee Bull Book, or a site like Kaylee Bull Book." Kaylee Bull Book is a great resource, but just know that when you're at a car dealership basis your trade in at what your car's worth at auction. Really, that's the real value of your car. What can I get for an auction? The reason is if I can't sell it on lot, I got to auction it off. So I want to at least get my money back or maybe try to make some profit at the auction if I can't sell it at my lot. And the only way I can do that, right, is by getting it at the auction price, which is Black Book. A lot of us are not going to have access to Black Book. That's something for dealers. Now, what Kaylee Book has been doing is they do like an instant trade where it's dealerships near you will reach out to you if you do the appraisal. And once you arrive at the dealership, they're going to reappraise your car, meaning that value that you're seeing on your computer screen or your cell phone, wherever you did it, where you plugged in everything on Kaylee Bull Book and it shot a number out to you, they may not necessarily give you that number. They could. I'm not saying that you're not going to get that number and that's a trick. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, let's say Kaylee Bull Book shot out $10,000. Say, I'm excited. A dealership near me calls me and says, "Hey, Antonio, we see that you just appraised your car. When could you come in? We love to buy your car." I say, "Oh, yes, I did. I could be there tomorrow morning at 9. Great. Let's set up that appointment. I can't wait to see you at 9 and take a look at your car." When I get to that dealership, that's exactly what we're going to do. They're going to look at the car and they may say, "Great, Antonio, your car looks great, just like you described it. We're going to go ahead and give you that $10,000 if you still want to sell it to us." Or they may say, "You know what? We looked at the car, Antonio. We're really glad you brought it in. It looks, pretty good, but we saw some things that unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that $10,000, and we're going to give you about 8,000. Is that okay?" And then you decide. But that could be a deal breaker, at least for me. If I'm thinking I'm going to get 10,000, I'm out here looking for a car and I found out I can only get 8 for my trade, I might no longer buy that car. Depends on the situation. Am I just upgrading my car? Am I just trading in because I want something new? Or is it a need? And if it's just more of a want, a luxury, and you're thinking one thing on trade-in value ends up being less, you might say, hey, that's not a luxury I'm going to take right now. That's why I go to CarMax. Someone looks at the car, there's no guessing games. I know someone looked at it, and I'm actually going to get this. Now, what I do with that written guarantee, I put it in my pocket, and the dealership that I'm thinking about buying the car at, I go to that dealership with that piece of paper with me. I don't tell them right when I get to the dealership, right? They don't need to know that I went to CarMax. There's no need to tell them that. I just find the car on the lot that I like, test drive it, everything. And I tell them, hey, yeah, I'm going to trade in the car, let the car get appraised, and they'll come back with the number. If the number that the dealership shows me is better than CarMax, I never tell them I went to CarMax. They don't need to know. But most of the time, I'm not saying always, because some of you might say, oh, I went to CarMax first and another dealership beat it. Not always. Most of the time, okay, CarMax comes in higher. And a lot of times when I present to the dealership that CarMax came in higher so they can bump up their trade-in value, they will defend their trade-in value. And they say, we can't match CarMax. And they'll give me reasons for that. I can either A, accept their explanation or stick to my number and say, no, I'm not going to take any less. I'll be 100% honest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm not afraid to leave the dealership and go to another one because I'm not asking for anything crazy. I'm not asking for anything unrealistic. There's a lot of dealerships that will match CarMax, and there's some dealerships that won't. If you're not willing to shop around and take a little bit more time to save money, then you're probably gonna lose out on some money on that deal. If you're willing to do like I am, walk out and find a dealership that will match it, then you're probably gonna keep more money in your pocket. Now, one thing, be prepared to hear from the dealership. A lot of dealerships are gonna talk about tax savings. You might say, what's tax savings? This is big when you're trading in a car. If you have a finance car, at least here in Florida, if you have a finance car, not a lease car, but the tax savings is on a finance car, right? Or a car that you bought, not that you leased, but that you bought, maybe you bought it cash or you financed. A car like that, you get the tax savings. And what is, they're going to tax you on the difference. So let's say that the car that you're wanting to buy is $20,000, but your trade-in is $10,000. They're only going to tax you on the difference. If you're wondering what the savings would be, you can just go on your phone and let's go on the calculator. If you have a calculator like this, right, you would just plug in $10,000. That's what you're getting for your car, and times by your tax rate wherever you live. Here it's 6.5. So we're going to use mines for example, 6.5 like that %, and that gives me $650. So by trading in my car, I'd be saving $650 on tax. Now, what a lot of dealerships will do is say, if you sell your car to CarMax, you're not going to get the tax savings because you're not trading it in, you're just selling it outright. So there will be no tax savings. You only would get the tax savings at the dealership where you're doing the trade-in at. So if they came in, let's say at 9,500, maybe if the tax savings, with the tax savings in there, it's 10,100, they'll throw that in at you to convince you. But what you may miss is, if I got that dealership to bump it up to $10,000, right, my tax savings would be larger. So they're going to try to convince you, because I've been through this most of the time, right? I can't, if when you're at the dealership, I don't know exactly what happened, but from my experience, this is what's happened. They'll come in a little bit under CarMax and they'll try to convince me to take the deal because of the tax savings. They'll say, oh, with the tax savings, it's the same or it's a little bit over. And some people might say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let's do the deal. No, if you got them to come up on your trade-in, all you would do is save more money on taxes and you keep more money in your pocket. So I would say, no, you need to match what CarMax is giving me, and then you get a larger savings. That's what I do. That's what I would recommend if you were in the situation I'm just describing. And hopefully that helps you out. That helps you out. Smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me some comments down below, especially if you're in this situation. I love to read about it. If you have any questions, I love to help you. I'm even going to share my screen for those of you that are like, I don't want to go to the dealership. Well, then it's going to be kind of like earlier in the video with Kaylee Bull Book. You can go on the CarMax website. Right. Here it is. And it's right up top. You'll see where it says sell and trade. That's what you will click on. And the pretty cool thing is you can just put in your tag or your VIN number. And most of the time, when you fill out all the questions, it'll just shoot out a value at you and email it to you. Now, I will be honest, sometimes for some cars, excuse me, it doesn't do it. Because I do Turo, I buy cars often, and when I want to get out of the car, I usually go to CarMax. And there's been times I tried out their online tool, and for some cars it shoots out a value, for some cars it doesn't. Now, why does it not shoot out value for some of the cars? That I really don't know. I'm assuming some cars they haven't dealt with as much, so they might not have in their system as much record of that car. Maybe that there's not a lot of those cars at auction at the moment, so they don't really got a good idea of the value. That's the only thing I can come up with why sometimes it doesn't give you a value and sometimes it does. When it doesn't give you a value, it just asks you to go to the dealership, which is what I would do from the beginning, because even if you fill all this out, they're going to reevaluate it when you bring it to the dealership to make sure that everything's right that you filled out and to double check it. Meaning there is a possibility they may give you what they showed you online, but there's also a possibility they may give you something lower. They may change it after their evaluation. I already said it. I don't like that. So I just go right to CarMax. But here you go. You got CarMax that you can use. You do got Kaylee Bull Book as a good resource. You can go on Car Havana. But the important thing, no matter how you do it, is finding out what your car's worth. And if you just want to do it online, at least get that idea what your car's worth before you go to the car dealership. Because if you don't do this, then what's happening is you're basically at the hands of the dealership. You have no idea what your car's worth. So whatever number they're throwing at you, you don't know if that's a good deal or not, right? Why wouldn't you believe them? You haven't done any research. But if you went to CarMax, at least if you use some of these online tools, you will have either a ballpark or you will know for certain what your car is worth. And if the dealership's giving you lower than what you already know you could get for your car, that's your tool to negotiate and get the dealership to come up. If for some reason you are at a dealership that's not willing to come up, don't be afraid to go to another car dealership. I know some of you are not going to believe me, but car sales are down, meaning you as a consumer have more power now. These car dealerships want to make deal, and when sales are down, you have more power on getting them to, accommodate you when it comes to negotiating. Hopefully, again, you understood my take on training in and everything. If you didn't, leave me a comment below. I'll be more than glad to answer it. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.